Caution: all garages are different. Watch this video all the way through and carefully read written instructions before installing. If you are unsure or uncomfortable with installing this product, contact a structural professional. Always test this mechanism using a live load. Never stand, allow children or pets to be under a lifted object. Misuse or improper installation of this product can result in serious injury or death. Follow all safety rules and regulations of tools and ladders while installing this product. Wear safety glasses and protective gloves when installing this product.
Hi, Carter from Lang Originals. This is part 2 of our series of the Hoisted Cart Gen 2. So if you're watching this, you have already assembled your frame and you're ready to start lifting your top. We're going to go over that with you now. Now, if you want the assembly of the Hoisted Cart Gen 2, please watch video 1. So within this assembly, we'll be needing the following things that are left in our boxes. We'll need the 2 Velcro straps, a couple of just pieces of 2x4 or something equivalent to that. That'll help us to lift the top and keep our fingers out of the way. Our quick link, our final parts bag, which contains the 2 washers, the 2 elevator bolts, 2 nuts, and 2 wing nuts. Need a 1/2 inch wrench, and then we'll need either our JL hook or our JK hook, depending on which vehicle you have, and then our lifting strap. Let's install our elevator bolts very first, but before we do that, before we start anything, I'm going to take off the freedom panels so that we have full access to the top. If you don't know how to take your freedom panels off, I'll try and include a link on the description below so that you can have a good way to do that. But I'm going to take those off and get those out of the way so that we can have full access to the top. Alright, so I've taken my freedom panels off. So now I'm going to remove the factory hardware, or in my case I have one of our quick hits in here that's just a hand tight knob. And I'm going to remove the factory hardware that goes along the outside of the top so that the top is free and loose. And then the parts I'm going to need my elevator bolt first off and my little piece of 2x4. So with one hand, and this looks like it might be difficult, but with a little amount of effort I can lift this up just slightly and just give myself a little space here. Then I'm going to take the elevator bolt, I'm going to stick that up through the bottom, and then the next part is the big flat washer that'll go down on top, and then my nut. I'm going to tighten this down. It doesn't need to be super tight. I'm just going to tighten this ever so slightly with my 1/2 inch wrench. Good. That's pretty much all I need. And then I'm going to have my wing nut. I'm just going to put that aside for now. I may do this on both sides and then we'll be ready to put the strap on. Alright, get our lifting strap now. I'm going to hopefully keep the strap nice and straight. And I'm going to take this end here with the grommet and I'm going to stick this right underneath of this crack here and loop the grommet over the top of the elevator bolt. And then I'm just going to loosely tighten down this wing nut. Doesn't even need to be finger tight. I'm going to get 5 or 6 threads on there. Good. That's ready to go. I'm going to loop this strap right over the top of my top here, and I'm going to do it again on the other side. So we're on top of the Jeep right now, and I've got the lifting strap attached to the elevator bolts on both sides. So I'm going to take a look here. Now your strap, when you first got it, it may have been too tight and you may have had to loosen this already, or it may have been, or mine right now, as it came out of the bag, has about, it looks like about 1 foot of stretch in here. So I'm going to tighten it up a little bit, not too much, because the tighter this is, if it's too tight, it's really hard to get that grommet underneath and onto the lifting spot. So for me, I like to have about this much stretch right here. So you can see that this is right in the middle with this rail right here. So whatever you adjust, whenever you adjust this, I like to adjust both sides exactly at the same time and take out the same amount, so that because if the lifting point, is off to one side or the other of the center of the top, then when the top lifts, it'll be slightly tipping from one side to the other. So whatever you do when you tighten these straps or you adjust the straps, make sure that you do what you do to one side, you do to the other. And that'll help you to be very even and balanced when you lift. So here's a little tip and trick. I have to be honest, adjusting these straps isn't exactly my favorite thing. There's lots of twists and turns that are involved in here, mostly so that this is a very safe lifting device. But in order to adjust this, what I like to do the best is I like to take this section out completely, and that makes it a lot easier to adjust. And then, like I was talking about before, when you do your adjusting, you want to make sure that you do a little at a time and that you're able to do the same on both sides. So I'm gonna put, yeah, I've got about the same loop there on both sides, and then with a little effort I can pull those both straight, and then I can test my slack again. So I can tell I need to come out just a little bit more, and just do a little bit on both sides again. Okay, then I put these back through and I'm ready to lift. All right, my lifting strap is all tight. It's nice and adjusted. I've got everything put back in place here. I've double checked everything, and the distance from the top here is about right, and it's right in the center. So I'm going to attach my snap ring from the front of the Hoist cart Gen 2, and I'm going to attach that right now, and then I'm going to attach the hook. All right, now I'm going to attach my hook. As you can see, we're underneath of the Jeep here, and I've got the rear window open, and so I'm going to take the JL hook, and we get a lot of questions about this, so I'm going to go over this kind of slow. So basically this section right here is what slips over the bottom and over the seal. And we get asked all the time, is this going to damage my seal at all? It's not. These seals are really tough. They're made for closing and opening several times, keeping out weather. And so this little hook is not going to hurt this at all. But I'm going to take the hook and I'm going to slip it up underneath. And if I've got it on right, it'll actually hold itself in place. So if you can just look down in here, this little section right here, right, how that just slips right over the top of that right there. And I'm just going to make sure that it's lined up with that center so that it's centered. And then I'm ready to close the rear window. Now don't worry if you're not perfectly lined up in center. Like, I can open this slightly and just move it to the side and then get it right. Okay, that looks great. So I didn't want to leave out the JK. So this is the JK hook. So your hook is going to go in slightly differently. You can do it exactly the same way we do it on the JL, or if you want to leave everything attached as it is, you can see that on the JK, there's a lot more room back here. The JL has a little spoiler edge that comes over, and there's a lot less room. But with the JK, you can take your hook and you can slip it right down in between, line it up with your center, and then close your top, and then you're ready to lift. Okay, I'm just about to put the Hoist cart underneath of the Jeep and put the back and attach the back hook. But before I do that, I want to make clear here that what I need to do in order to go under the Jeep for the lifting position, and I'm going to go over a lot more of this in detail a little later, but I want to make sure that the spring pin is engaged to this rear hole back here. So there's a hole in the back on this side and in the front on the other side. So for the lifting position, I'm going to drop the spring pin down into the back so this is locked into place. And what that'll do, that'll allow the most amount of room in between here and here. So if you have great big wide tires like I have on this JL, it'll slide in between your tires without any interference at all. Okay, I'm finally ready to push this underneath of the Jeep. I've got all my strap that's just loose back here. Don't worry about this at all. We'll fix this in just a minute. But I'm going to take my bottom portion of the cart here. I'm going to push it underneath, and I can stay centered. If you don't have a hitch, then just center it pretty close in the bumper in between by eye. And then the minute this goes down, I like to make sure that my brakes are on, and then I'm right in place. Okay, now I'm going to take my quick link. I'm going to attach it to the back of the hook here. I'm going to tighten this all the way down by hand. No need to do it by a tool, but I just make sure that's nice and tight. Then let's attach this. Now, why don't we just attach this to this? Well, you know how we like nice straight straps. If we were to attach it this way, it would have a slight twist in this, and it might cause the top just to be a little bit off center. So the snap link gives us that extra link that makes sure everything is nice and straight. Now we're ready to adjust our strap. All right, now we're going to adjust our strap so that when we lift our top, everything comes off nice and even and straight. And so in order to do that, I want to make sure, you can see I still have my blocks in here so that I have a little extra room on the front side, and everything's attached front and back here. So what I'm going to do simply is I'm going to take the straps and I'm going to pull the front and the back nice and tight. Now it doesn't have to be tight enough that you're lifting the top, but I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on here, and I'm going to hold this tight. And if you watch, as I go back like this, I'm just going to hold straight, and I'm going to go until the strap is nice and straight on both sides. And right here is the center point. Okay? So now I can start to crank forward. If I hold tight and hold on that spot and keep that spot right there. Nice and tight. Okay, so you can see that the tension is a little bit more on the front than on the back, and that's great. I like, when I lift my top, I want the front to be just slightly higher than the back. So I'm ready to start cranking. And then I'm going to go around and inspect my top and see if there's any reason that it's tilting one way or the other. I can see that the front is just slightly higher than the back, which is perfect. That's the way I like it. And then from side to side, everything looks straight this way as well. So at this point, I'm ready to move the top back. So just a tip or a trick here, when we're lifting the hoist, as you can see, I'm off here about 4 to 5 inches, which is plenty to take off your top. You really don't need anything more than that. But if you want to lift it a little higher, or let's say you have a really big jacked up Jeep. This Jeep has 35-inch tires, but it has no lift on it. But if you have a much bigger Jeep, as you can see here on the top, I am maxed out. I can't lift any higher than this. This is as high as it can go. So at this point, if I wanted to be able to lift the top just a little bit higher, or maybe let's say I wanted to be able to lift up right over the top of my spare tire here, which I can do. That'll make it very easy for me. I can, at this point, I can adjust the height of the hoisted cart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this back down onto the Jeep. I'm going to give myself a little bit of slack. And then when I pull this pin out, I'm going to hold on to it so that it doesn't slide down. And I'm going to go up just to the, I'm going to go up 2 rungs. So I've gone up 2 full spaces here. Put my pin back in. Make sure that's on. And then I'm going to lift my top again. And I'm much higher this time. I can actually take it off. And if I have a situation where I want to navigate it differently, or I need it to be a little higher, or you have a great big Jeep, That way you can adjust the height of how high it's going to go up. So one of the things that I didn't mention out loud in the instruction when I was talking about the strap on the crank unit here is that there's so much strap here that you should really never ever have to lower it down any farther than less than 3 wraps. And that's for a couple reasons. First and foremost, it's safety. We don't want any less than 3 wraps on here. And second, we don't want to lose our place for the balance point that we found in here on our strap. And as long as we keep that amount of strap on there, you can see right now I have more like, I don't know, 8 or 9 wraps on in here, and that will keep it safe. It'll also hold my place so that I don't have to reset the balance point on my top again. All right, our Jeep top is up and we're ready to take it off and away from the Jeep. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure to release my brakes. And then I like to use one hand to just kind of steady it along like this. Pull it carefully back. And once I'm away from the Jeep, I can swing it either way that I like to. Then I'm going to reapply my brakes again. And then it's time to lower. All right, so I'm ready to lower this top down onto the cart. The first thing I want to do is I want to make sure I have my caster brakes both set. And then I'm going to have my pin set, which was already set from before on the roller assembly. And I'm going to, let's go ahead and lower this down. I put one hand on here just to make sure it comes down nice and steady. I want it to land right on that cradle, right on the edge of that cradle. I can see that it's landed on both quite nicely. Now, a little tip or trick here. I got a couple of little pieces of carpet here. And if you have a brand new top, painted top like this one, that you're worried about touching the ground, you can just put those little pads underneath it here. Just make sure it protects your top a little bit. And carefully lower that down. Great. Now I'm going to give myself a little bit of slack. Now we're just about ready to tip this forward. So just a little tip or trick here. If you're in a garage situation where you're really, really tight on storage and this top of this is just like a little bit, tiny bit too high, you do have the option of bringing this down and dropping this down all the way to the safety bolt here. Where you need to do that is once you've lowered your top to the ground and you're just about ready to tip it up, now is the time to do that. So just to demonstrate, if I undo my pin here, and then I kind of keep my hand on it because it's not going to really swing down hard, but it might come down a little quicker than we want to. Okay, so I'm just going to lower that to there. And then I'm going to hold on up here. I'm going to remove this pin as well. And then I'm going to lower that to the ground. And I like to just kind of keep my pins right here so that I don't lose them or misplace them anywhere. Then at that point, I can tip my top up and I'll have a little more room with this swing arm out of the way. All right, so I'm ready to tip this top forward onto the cart itself. So the first thing I have to do is I want to make sure that I release the spring pin on this side and pull it back and lock it into position. Then on the other side, I'm going to release the spring so that when it comes to the hole on the opposite side, it clicks into place. Let me show you how that's going to sound. So I'm going to pull it towards me. And I can hear that click into place, and I know that spring pin has gone into the hole. Now I'm ready to tip this forward. And now you can see right here that I haven't got this perfectly on my cradle. That's no problem. I'm just going to slide it back ever so slightly. These are rubber coated, so it's not going to harm any paint if I slide it. I'm just going to slide this back, and then it's in perfect place. All right, so we got the top off. Let's get the doors off. before I get a door lifted, I want to make sure that I have my Velcro straps here that are attached. So I'm gonna, I got the loop side of the Velcro facing me and the hook also facing me down here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna loop this under, put this through, and I'm just gonna have that right there. Now what this will do is this will loop through the handle and Velcro so that the doors don't swing when I'm pushing this around. So I'm going to put one here and I'm going to put one over on the other side before I start taking the doors off. All right, I've got everything, all the wiring and the hardware undone from the door. And if you don't know how to take your doors off, I'll try and put a link on the site that shows how to do this. So I've released everything, and one of my little tips is that I love to roll down the window because that gives me kind of more of a grab point, and it also allows me to kind of put my neck through here and then look and see what I'm doing so I don't scratch up any of the paint or the pegs or anything. So I'm going to lift carefully here and remove the door, and because I've got the paint side out right here, this is the passenger side, and this is going to go on this side of the hoisted cart. So you just have to remember that the painted side always goes towards the top. So if I do this right, what I can do is I can look through here and I can see the pegs as I'm dropping them down if my head's through the window. I'm just going to carefully drop those on there. These are rubber coated, so if you do come in contact with it, it's not going to scratch your paint, but that's in place. Now, I'm going to take my Velcro strap. If you want to come over here and check this out. I'm just going to stick this Velcro strap right through there, and just so it holds on my door, keeps my door from swinging any which way. Well, we have our doors and our top safely stored on the hoisted cart Gen 2. A couple of tips: when you're finally putting it into its storage place, you'll notice that all four of the wheels they all have swivel, so you can go side to side and put it into place if you want to. And I would recommend that once you get it into its final resting place, that you go ahead and apply your brakes just for safety. Also, upcoming, we have a very nice cover for the hoisted cart Gen 2 that will cover the set of the doors and the top, and so you can store it outside if you'd like to, or you can store it inside and just keep everything dust free. So keep your eye on our website. That should be available very soon. I'm going to, hopefully in fast motion, do a takedown and put it back onto the Jeep, so you can watch that process as well. It's basically just everything we discussed, only in exactly the opposite. So thank you very much for considering this product or purchasing this product. My family and everyone here at Lang Originals, we thank you very much for your purchase, and we hope you enjoy this product as much as we do. Thank you very much.